what this demonstration is going to show today is it's going to show regenerative acceleration technology and how that is created and what it means for electric vehicles, or pure electric vehicles, or even hybrid vehicles, and any system, any rotating system that uses that has drive shaft torque, where the drive shaft, where the input power creating the drive shaft torque might want to be reduced in some way. So, just a quick basic physics of the technology. Regenerative braking in an electric car is basically governed by a law of physics called Lenz's law. And Lenz's law is essentially Newton's third law of motion for generators. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So essentially, with a conventional coil, a conventional generator coil is a high current coil. It's a coil that carries a lot of current, and the current that flows in this coil dictates the strength of the magnetic field that is produced around the coil. Now, when a magnet approaches a coil of wire, the coil stores energy externally in the electromagnetic field, and this electromagnetic field pushes back on the approaching magnet. When the magnet changes direction and is moving away, the current changes direction, the polarity of the magnetic field changes, and the coil pulls back on the magnet as it's trying to move away. So equal and opposite reaction, and basically the Lenz's law is dictated by this minus sign here. So we have an electromotive force being produced between the electromotive force creating the voltage in the coil, and this minus sign here, which is Lenz's law, denotes that the EMF that's produced by the coil is counter to whichever is changing. So if the magnet is moving in, the coil is trying to push it back. If the magnet's moving away, the coil is trying to attract it, basically keep it from moving away. So all we're going to show in this demonstration is we're going to show the change of polarity of this minus sign to a plus sign. And that small change basically changes everything. And basically the way that the regenerative acceleration coil differs from the conventional coil is the conventional coil is a high current, low impedance coil. It stores energy in the electromagnetic field around the coil. The regenerative acceleration coil is a high impedance, high voltage, low current coil. So when the magnet is moving towards the coil, the impedance of the coil, the AC resistance of the coil, is high. So what that means, as the AC impedance of the coil is high, current can't flow in the coil. If current can't flow in the coil can't produce a repelling magnetic field. So as the magnet moves in, and the coil is connected to a load, the coil is not able to produce a repelling magnetic field because the repelling magnetic field is directly related to the magnitude of current flow. So you restrict the current flow, you have no repelling magnetic field, but the coil is having a large induced voltage generated in it, and it has to store that energy somewhere. So the energy is stored in the high voltage coil internally in between the wires as voltage. So the conventional coil operates as an inductor, storing energy in the electromagnetic field around the coil, The high voltage coil stores energy internally as a capacitor, storing energy as voltage. So the magnet moves in, generates a voltage in the coil, and moves in with a lot less energy than is required by the conventional generating system. When the magnet is basically top dead center, neither approaching nor receding, there's no change. So at that point, the frequency is essentially zero. And if the frequency is zero, then the impedance of the conventional coil drops to the DC resistance of the coil, which is generally low, perhaps in this case 90 ohms, and in these various 3 different prototypes it could be 40, 50 ohms, depending. So when the magnet is top dead center, the high voltage that is stored internally in the coil is able to be displaced through the low DC resistance of the coil, and we get a delayed, that allows current to flow and allows the coil to produce a delayed magnetic field, which now pushes away on the receding magnet and attracts the next magnet. If it's a north pole that's receding, the delayed magnetic field will push away on the north pole and attract the south pole. So this is where we create the acceleration. And I'm going to show you 3 different prototypes. They all do the same thing. They all do it slightly different ways. Potential difference is an R&D company. We create IP, and then we license the IP. And each one of these prototypes shows a different IP iteration. And they're better in some ways, not better in other ways, but it's basically the client's decision to decide which application to use and which one is more beneficial. So I'm going to show you the first prototype. Basically, this one was developed in 2008. Then the next step up, and then the next step up, and I'll explain why they're different. And basically what I'm going to show you in each prototype is I'm going to show you conventional generator armature reaction, and then I'm going to, which is denoted here by the minus sign, then I'm going to show you or regenerative braking for an electric car, then I'm going to show you regenerative acceleration, and that's about it. So now on this prototype here, at the front we have 2 conventional coils, and then right behind it we have, which are high current coils, and right behind it we have 2 high voltage, high impedance coils. So regenerative braking coils, regenerative acceleration coils. And I'm going to use, in this one here, the conventional coils are connected through that light bulb, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just override the regenerative braking effect. Conventional generator, regenerative braking, Newton's third law, Lenz's law. So let it go up, let it So now I've engaged the regenerative acceleration coils, and the regenerative acceleration coils are accelerating the rotor. Now I'm going to put the conventional coils back on. Now we're in regenerative acceleration mode. Now the regenerative acceleration coil, complementary torque, is overriding the counter torque produced by the conventional coil. If I take the regenerative acceleration coil off, come on in. Paul Becker. Nice to meet you. Hi. Doug Adams. Nice to meet you. We're just going to continue with the demo.
Sure. Yeah.
So, right now we are in regenerative braking mode again. Everybody agrees that it's decelerating. Okay. Now you'll notice that when I engage the regenerative acceleration coil, there's some flux being dropped from the conventional coil.
Both of them are online.
Both of them are on now, and the net effect is that this prototype will produce 10 watts of regenerative acceleration fluid, and it will produce 0 watts of conventional.
So the basic premise of the system is always to have both working in tandem.
Yeah. I'm going to take
Each one has different.
I'm going to lower the input so that you can hear the deceleration. And the other prototypes have a tachometer, so it's easier. Okay, decelerating. Everybody agree? Okay, is that clear for everybody if I take the regenerative acceleration balls off? Regenerative braking, regenerative acceleration. Okay. Now, going back to what I said earlier, potential difference is it's an IP company, it's an R&D company, and we develop IP. So if you notice with this prototype where we have the conventional coil and the conventional regenerative braking coil, let's say,